Mike, and welcome to Retro Boost. I recently did a video on the one-chip SNES. I had acquired one because my two-chip console, as it would be labeled, is starting to have more problems. The power supply was getting a little weird. It's got damage on the back of it. It's been like that forever. So sometimes it won't turn on unless I get the power thing perfectly positioned. It's a whole nightmare. So I wanted to get it replaced at some point, and then my local shop ended up having a one-chip available, so I got it. Made a whole video about that journey, how opening them up, telling you how to tell what a one chip is, and then showing side by sides with the 5X Pro. And I kind of realized coming out of that, okay, that was all about the one chip SNES, but also showed a lot of 5X Pro stuff with it. So what I wanted to do is circle back and kind of do that again, but give some of the other devices I've talked about in the past a chance to shine. So today will be the RAD2X. I'll also do a 2X Pro one as well, because these are great devices that are really good at improving the quality of these consoles for a modern TV. And I really wanted to see what they would do when given the one-chip console, to see how much further they can take it, basically. So that'll be today's objective, and I'll do a similar video with the 2X Pro down the line. So today we'll be looking at the RAD2X Nintendo and showing its performance out of the one-chip Super Nintendo against the two-chip Super Nintendo, to kind of see what the differences are there, but really to see what it can do with these two variations. That way it really can show off what the RAD2X is going to do, depending on which version of the Super Nintendo you have. If you wanted to know more about the specifics with the one-chip console, I would refer you to my previous video on the subject, because in that one I talk more about how you identify it, I open it up, etc. All that's in that video. I don't want to retread that in this one. Similarly, I'm going to breeze through the details on the RAD2X. If you want more details on that, I've done a number of videos on the RAD2X. I would refer you to those. Check the description for all of that stuff. Be sure to subscribe should you find this video helpful and informative. It means a lot. Past 930 subscribers now, which is incredible. Sincerely thank you to everyone who has watched, who has commented, who has done all that stuff. It means a lot to me, truly. I hope you enjoy this. Hope it's helpful. So now let's quickly go over the details on the one chip and then the RAD2X, super quick, kind of abridged recap of those things, and then we'll get into the gameplay examples. Okay, so real quick recap of what the one-chip SNES is all about. The one-chip SNES is a later revision of the Super Nintendo console. Has a different chip structure on the inside for its video processing. I guess it makes it more efficient, so the video quality is said to be better. I put that to the test in those side-by-sides I did in the last video. In my opinion, it definitely is better. I found it to be much sharper, more defined, clearer, handled color gradients a lot better. But whether or not it's better than the two-chip console is totally up to you. I mean, we're in this very subjective territory of taking these consoles and bringing them to a point that the creators had never intended or envisioned happening, whether it be just the flat screen TVs we're using nowadays, or these devices like the RAD2X that are taking and processing the output into something else. So just bear that in mind. It's obviously up to you. And these side-by-sides, that's what I do them for, so we can see all the options and see what's going on with this stuff. So that's the one-chip SNES in a nutshell. Now, what about the RAD2X? The RAD2X is an HDMI adapter designed by Retro Gaming Cables UK in partnership with RetroTINK. They are designed for different consoles or families of consoles. This one is the RAD2X Nintendo. It's compatible with all the Nintendo consoles that use the Nintendo AV adapter, so SNES, N64, GameCube. It can accept a max input of 480i/576i, so you can't run progressive scan mode out of a GameCube, for example. But the interesting thing is it can grab on to RGB color quality from consoles like the Super Nintendo, just by default, or if you have a modded N64, it can grab onto that RGB, or a PAL region GameCube, which is something that with say the 2X Pro you could only achieve if you bought a SCART cable or HD Retrovision component cables. You'd have to buy that device and then buy high-end cables for it to get the quality that this guy can give you out of the box with certain consoles, which is an interesting value proposition for this thing that makes it a really cool product. Availability is the only downside. Ever since I made the first video about the RAD2X, I think it's only been available for sale like 3 times. It seems like every 4 to 5-ish months they do pre-order windows for them, so it's not something that's like persistently available for sale. That's the one downside. Another mention of what this device can do, obviously it's converting to HDMI, which is good for like a modern day TV. It does perform line doubling like what the 2X Pro does, so it helps with the quality when it goes to your TV. But for consoles like the N64 or the GameCube, it includes a smoothing filter, much like what the 2X Pro can do, which can help with those 3D graphics. Or if you liked the original kind of sharp look, you can just keep that. And that's what I'll be using today for these demos. So now we're going to get into the demos. We're going to see what the RAD2X can do. We're going to see its like peak performance with the Super Nintendo, RGB mode out of the 2-chip console, RGB mode out of the 1-chip console, and we'll see what that looks like. I was very impressed with the RAD2X when I first talked about it. The Super Nintendo, it looks outstanding, and that was the 2-chip console. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like aside the 1-chip console, to see what it does with that. And again, bear in mind, like, you don't have to get a 1-chip console. I said before that the non-1-chip looks fantastic, and I stand by that. It does. It looks incredible. The 1-chip can just take it a little further. Well, not a little. Again, subjective opinion. Not a little. I think it's a lot further. It's definitely sharper, more defined to me. So that's like the peak. But I still want to see what it looks like side by side so we get an idea what both experiences look like. This really isn't to like show off how much better the 1-chip is. It's to show what all the options look like from this particular experience. So now, let's see what it looks like. We'll do a handful of gameplay clips here with the RAD2X. Smoothing turned off, RGB mode. So 3 games. Let's see what they look like, and then we'll summarize at the end. Okay, so we've seen our side-by-sides. What are we thinking? So, like I thought going into it, I knew that the one-chip console was going to be like the clearer of the two, based off of what I had seen when I compared the 5X Pro footage in the previous video. That still reigns true today. I think that you can really see it when you focus on like text elements. Like you look at like Mario Kart's title screen, the copyright year and the Nintendo. You can see how the year on the one chip side, the text is very, very clear, whereas the text on the other one has like a little bit of like fuzzy kind of after image effect. Same for the characters as well. They kind of have like a sort of fuzzy little outline to them, and that's what the one chip does a better job. Like having that clearer output doesn't have those issues. Are those issues bad? I mean, no. They're. I can highlight them when I'm doing side by sides. Would you necessarily notice them when you're playing it on your own? Maybe not, probably not. To be honest, I did. Similar things I noticed when I compared the RAD2X and like the 5X Pro in the past with the Super Nintendo. Some of those things were differences I saw, and I thought it was very interesting that like the one-chip console cleans those things up. So it isn't a reflection of like the RAD2X performance. It's the console through the RAD2X, which I find really interesting. Other differences would be like the brightness. So like, again, going back to Super Mario Kart, obviously the one chip side is like brighter than the other. And this is something I've noticed when I've been playing these games, is some of the one chip games can be like very, very bright and vivid. Whether or not that's a good thing is up to you. I definitely think that in some instances it can be too bright. Thinking back to when I was doing stuff for the 5X Pro video, one of the games I messed around with after I had done the video was King of the Monsters 2, and I felt like that game was just too bright. There are ways to control that, like if you're using HD Retrovision component cables, you put it on the darker setting, that can help. Or if you're like, you know, on your TV has tons of settings, whether it be the backlight, the brightness, stuff like that can help with that as well. It's definitely kind of, it's, you know, it's not the best situation. You have to adjust your TV for like just a game, but it is worth noting that that is something that comes with this one chip experience. Is some of the games are just going to pop a lot more than others. Whether it's good or bad is up to you. Mario Kart's brightness definitely did not bug me, but King of the Monsters kind of did. As I sat there and played it, though, I got used to it. But to rope it back to the RAD2X stuff here, overall, I'm impressed. The RAD2X is a great solution, and both of these looked really, really good. The one chip just takes it all the further. The text is clearer, things are more defined overall, just like with the 5X Pro video. So it's really interesting seeing like the peak that the RAD2X can give when it gets this particular console. It's also just so fascinating that this one-chip console even exists. Like, we don't really see that anymore, not that I can think of. Not something that's the same console. I kind of briefly touched on this in the original video, but it's like, you know, you had the PS4, and then the PS4 Pro. Different console. Imagine if they did the PS4 Pro, but it was still just the PS4 at the same price. Like, wouldn't it be kind of messed up that, like, you went to the store, bought a console for $300, $400, and then 6 months later it's the same console, the same price, but someone buys it and like theirs can do like 4K, 30 frames a second? Like, wouldn't that be weird? That's kind of what this is. Obviously not the resolution being different, but the fact that, you know, we can see these differences, the performance difference is there. It's just so interesting to me how that happened like that. So, alright. Hope this video was helpful and informative, kind of showed you the peak, what the RAD2X is capable with the Super Nintendo console. I think this is all very interesting stuff. I've really enjoyed messing around with this one-chip console. I've been trying to expand my Super Nintendo collection as a result, so some of the games featured in this video were new, like the Illusions of Gaia, Illusions of Gaia. Also messed around with Super R-Type and Fatal Fury 2. Those aren't in this video, but those are some other new ones. I was playing around with this stuff, so it's really cool. It's kind of reignited some passion in me regarding this console. It's a console I love a ton. Just haven't been playing it much lately because other consoles have been taking my attention for some of the videos I've been doing super recently, at least, like the GameCube for the live streaming that I'm doing and stuff like that. But it's really cool. I really like it. So if you can get yourself a good deal on a one chip, if you like what you saw here, this will give you an idea of what kind of you can look forward to quality-wise from it. So if you wanted to see what the 5X Pro can do with it, I'd refer you to my previous video. It was all about the 5X Pro and the one chip. And I'm going to do a 2X Pro one as well, because again, I want to show what these really cool line doublers / scaling devices can do with this hardware. I think it'd be handy to have all those comparisons out there for reference. So thanks so much for joining me today on this one. Thanks so much for everyone who's watched and subscribed. Again, beyond 930 now, which is just crazy. It's really cool. Thank you so much for watching. Plenty of other stuff on the channel for you guys to check out. I've been doing live streaming on a lot of the weekends lately. We've been doing the Retro Boost podcast now. Is a few episodes deep, talking about some of the games we played in the channel for Retro Boost Arcade, talking about some movies for like Halloween stuff recently. All good stuff there. Check it out on the channel. It's all organized. I take pride in how the homepage of the channel is organized, the playlists and whatnot. I put a lot of time into that, to be honest. Well, I looked at that recently and I was like, dang, this is a lot of stuff. So, thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.